Hello, fellow songwriters, and welcome to the 25th episode of the How Songs Are Made podcast, where we talk to notable artists about their songwriting process. I'm your host, Trey Xavier, and today we're going to be talking to my friend CHARLOTTE Wessels about how she writes songs. Today's episode is sponsored by the amazing DistroKid. People ask me what DistroKid is and why do you need it? That's probably the first thing that you're going to want to know. And it's pretty simple. You've got music. How do you get it on all those places that people listen to it? You're like, how does this music even get to Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, Tidal? And that's with DistroKid. They're the best way to get your music onto the internet. And it's basically independent distribution. You don't have to worry about any of the complex distribution stuff that, that you'd have to have a label and all these people. You don't need any of that. You put your music up there and it goes up and people can listen to it. It's amazing. And I know this because I literally just uploaded something yesterday for release next month. More on that later. But it's the best way to get your music on the internet, and you can get 7% off your first year with the special link in the description. Now, my guest today is one of my favorite songwriters that I've had the pleasure of collaborating with. Her new album, Tales from 6 Feet Under, Volume 2, drops October 7th. You may also know her as the former singer of the band Delane. Please give a warm welcome to my guest, CHARLOTTE Wessels.
Hi, Trey. I'm so happy to be here.
Hi, I'm so happy to have you.
Thanks.
I hope all the people watching at home, hello. Welcome to the live stream. So how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm excited to dive into this, and yeah.
So I've been lucky enough to write a song with you. That's I guess you're I think second, maybe third guest that I've been able to do that with. And last year for Metal Month, we did one of these just crazy random drum groove things. And I couldn't believe, I mean, I knew that you were good. I've always liked your music so much, but the thing that you said back after I sent you just that drum track, I was like, what just happened? How did this go from just a bunch of drums into this like incredible song? I was so happy to work on that, and it was so easy for me because after you sent it back, all I had to do was like add some guitars to it. I was like, it was already a song. My job was just to not ruin it. So,
No, that's not true. But I mean, it was very rough what I sent. It was a great collaboration. It was so much fun. I've never done like one of those rolling the dice to get, well, first of all, like the drum tracks, and then the patrons jumped in for song topics. That was also one of the things because I'd never really outsourced that, So
it's a little
scary.
but
But it was a great challenge, and I mean, I think that the topic was the world running out of wine. So that's of course that's a very terrifying idea. So
serious.
that was plenty to go with. Yeah, well, it was a lot of fun.
It was almost like vegetables or something, wasn't it? Wasn't that like the next runner-up?
Yeah, there was I knew that I put some serious ones in there because there were more suggestions than numbers on the die. So I was like, I still have to make this like a good challenge for myself. So I put some wild cards in there. I think broccoli was one of them as well.
Yeah, it would have been a much different vibe.
It would have been a much different vibe. But I think that I did get an idea for a song about broccoli back then. And I think I thought about wanting to do something with that at one point, but I don't remember what it was, but it was some clever wordplay on broccoli where I thought I would have never thought of that if someone hadn't given that as a prompt. So yeah, that was also like a journey of discovery. That sort of thing can be really cool too.
I love a
Yeah,
prompt.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
exactly. Like you think you always have material or like what you want to write about, and then all of a sudden somebody's like, "Yeah, but what if you did this?"
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Oh yeah, I think I remember. So I thought with the broccoli that if it would land on broccoli, I thought that it would be like a really vengeful breakup song where you end up with like wishing that person a lot of things and then a lot of terrible things, but then you do wish them well. So in the end, you hope they stay healthy, you hope they do good, and you hope they eat their broccoli. I think it was something like that. Um
somewhere in the multiverse, there's
I
a
yeah,
version of Charlotte who
I
wrote that
had like
song.
a chorus ready to go, but it was yeah, but yeah.
Dang.
But
Well,
these
maybe
were the
next
two that
time.
I was most excited about. So I'm glad that it landed on the red wine.
Well, as am I, but I also am. Maybe someday we should just do the broccoli song just for funsies.
Yeah, yeah, we
Maybe
should. We
Tales
totally
from
should.
6 Feet Under Volume 3 will have
Who
us on
knows?
have the
Yeah.
broccoli song. That brings me to the main question, the big question, because really on this podcast there's only one question. All the others are follow-ups, and that is, what is your songwriting process and how has it changed over time? I guess probably the most obvious thing would be to contrast how you do it now as a solo artist to previously with bands you've been in. That's what I would most like to hear about personally.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely because, of course, I knew the question was coming. So I thought about it a little bit, but I mainly came to the conclusion that I mean, it has changed a tremendous amount, like over the past 2 years mostly. Um, and I also think that I'm still very much in the process of changing it. But one constant that has always been there, whether it is like writing something now, where I know that I'll be doing like the full production, or whether it is like more into a like group songwriting session, is that for me, it usually starts with just like a vocal, like a lyric and melody hook. And I remember when I started writing songs, I always thought that um, that was kind of the only thing that I was writing. But then often when I brought it to like whoever I was collaborating with at that point, um, I did always have like very specific chords in mind with them, but I I I played the clarinet, which is not, a great instrument to play if you want to sing and then play along to your own singing. It's like very hard to sing and play the clarinet at the same time. I've discovered it's not like I haven't tried, but it's very hard. Um, so I would often notice that I did in fact like have chords in mind to go with the melody and with the words, and that's why kind of I tried to at least figure out some chords on the piano anyway, just to communicate the idea better. And yeah, when like within like a band context, that was up until like the last few years, that was usually what I would do. Like I had a big pile of recordings on my phone of lyrical ideas with melodies, and then usually I would write out the lyrics to the entire song. Like I had notebooks filled with like basically the full song and song structure, also often like um but I mean, that was of course the most lucky cases. Sometimes it would also just be a verse and like, or like a verse and one chorus. um and um yeah, it didn't really matter how much was there, like whether it was like a whether it was like um just like a verse and a chorus or like a strong hook or something, and then everyone would kind of come from their own angle, and we would work with that. And especially within Delane, like we wrote most of the songs, the three of us, myself, Martijn, and Guus Eikens. And then you would have like the keys angle, the guitar angle, and the vocal angle. So that would usually work pretty well in the songwriting stage. But for me, it also worked the other way around. If I get an instrumental idea and then just fill in the vocals to that. And I really enjoy doing that. But for me, that's a very kind of different vibe than getting hit by like this stroke of, like, it feels more like the songs can turn out just as dear to me and just as personal, but that usually takes a lot longer time if it's something that you get and then you have to figure out what you're going to do to that, than if it's something that, you know, you had an idea for and then you kind of see it grow from there. But it would often, like within a band, it would often work like that as well, that I would fill in on musical parts that were already there. And yeah, now it's just now it's very different because now I don't have as much I don't have as much ideas on my phones or in notebooks anymore because I spent the last 2 years here. So whenever I had an idea, I was just going to record it. So that
You recorded on the biggest phone of all,
and the
Cubase.
biggest phone of all. Yeah, exactly. So and that's a very different way of working, I guess. And then also now, of course, the rest of the instrumentations play a much bigger role much sooner in the process for me, because often I will usually write the songs chronologically, and I used to just write when I started out, I used to write the vocal lines chronologically, but then everything else had to still be there. And now I do like to get all of the parts in one go. So if I write a verse, I will write the verse kind of including everything, or at least like a good idea of everything. And then, yeah, and then just continue from there. And often, like the very last, like I more often start with an intro and finish with an outro now than back when it was just like, here is like one piece of the entire thing. So that's very different. Actually, there's a lot of things that are a lot of different. Like, I am already rambling and we're only a few minutes in.
This is what the podcast is. Ramble away. I mean, I have a little note at the top of every little note of that I have for the podcast, and it just says, "Shut the fuck up and let them talk." They're not here for me. I'm not here for me. This is all gold. Keep it coming.
Yeah. No, but yeah, so it has changed tremendously because for the songs in band context, like it really differs. Like for some songs, I feel like everyone has a different input, and in one song, my input is bigger, and in the other input, someone else's input is bigger. So, of course, I'm telling this from my own perspective now, but that's not to say that it worked like that for all of the songs. But now it definitely does work like that for all of the songs, because these last two albums were basically, I did have some guest spots on them. Like, I had some parts where I felt like I really need to replace these plugins, or I actually have time to replace these plugins. But yeah, otherwise, for the most part, it was all made down here within the time span of a month. So it was also made like very fast, very spontaneous, and with no real rooms for revisions or rearrangements or rewrites. which is also something that used to be very different before because, within a band context, whether that was with Elaine, but also, for example, a side project Phantasma that I've done, that was very much about really, really, really continuing until you feel like it is the absolute best that it can be, really about polishing the things and really about trying to make it a bigger and better every time. And this is something that I really enjoy doing. But I kind of started the Patreon back then because I started the Patreon and the song of the month. Like I do a song every month on my Patreon. I started doing that as kind of a balance to the process that I had with the band because back then I was still in the band. And there, of course, one thing that kind of frustrated me about that way of songwriting was that sometimes it would take a very long time from the initial spark of inspiration until the moment that the song is released. So you would write a song with a certain feeling, and by the time the song is out, sometimes you wouldn't remember what the feeling was about. Or you write something about something that is on the news and is relevant now, and then by the time it gets released, it's not so much anymore. So I wanted to do something where it was really like, I write this song today, I put it online tonight, which I still don't do, but it's much more like that now. And yeah, I wanted something to balance out that really elaborate way of songwriting, with something that was more spontaneous and quicker. But now I'm only doing the very spontaneous, very quick thing, and now I kind of want to take my time for some songs more again. So it's like always, yeah, it's always a game of balancing for me, and that's where I said like, how do I write my songs now? I'm asking myself that question like almost every day. Like, is how I do it now, is that the way that I want to do it? Do I want to change it? Do I want to take more time? Do I want to because in this way, like doing everything myself, because the only thing that I actually produced or like the part that on the Delane albums, I did record my own vocals for most of the last two records, but I never recorded any of the instrumentations. Like that was never my work. Like I was involved in the songwriting process, but it was never me actually putting that in. So I feel like this part of songwriting I've only been doing for 2 years. So I'm also still finding out every day when I'm like working, I'm finding out like shortcuts for things that I've been doing like in ridiculously stupid ways, where it was like, oh no, wait, was it actually that easy to do this?
I can't tell you how
Like
many
a really,
times I've done the same thing. And you think of all the
yeah,
time that you'll never get back that you could have. Uh,
yeah, yeah. So I still feel like sometimes it kind of feels like inventing the wheel, where you're like, I could also just, yeah. But it's very much a work in progress, I feel.
maybe you
I'm very
could
much still finding out.
walk us through an example from the new album, for example, maybe the one you did with Timo that just dropped. Oh my God, the
Human to Ruin,
name of
was
it
it?
went right out of my brain. No, the acoustic one. I'm sorry.
Oh, the acoustic, Against All
Against all
Odds.
odds, yes.
Yeah,
I
so
was I
that
was
was one.
very much struck by that one. I like it a lot.
Oh, thanks so much. That was a very easy one to write, actually. Like, I so this was one where first of all I worked with like an acoustic guitar plugin, and I kind of found like so this is one where it was really guided just by like the words and the melody again, because I kind of had that story that I wanted to tell. And um once I kind of found the right chords, and then first I kind of filled that in with the plugin, and then I thought, oh, this actually sounds like it could be like a really small song with just the acoustic guitar. And I asked so I asked Timo to actually play those guitars because I felt like if this is just going to be acoustic guitars and singing, then it has to be real acoustic guitars. And I think that a lot of purists who listen to my music think that a lot more elements actually need to be real elements. But I write everything in a month. So anyway,
do you remember which line that you wrote was the first one for the song that was like the inception lyric?
yes, I do. It's a bit embarrassing. So this was not chronologically. I can I use swear words on your
Yes.
podcast? Okay. So there's this line in this 80s movie. There's this movie Heathers. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like Mean Girls of the 80s.
Okay. I haven't
But
seen
with
it, but I've heard of it.
Pack Two Sides and Winona Ryder, and it's fun. But there's this one sentence in there where one of the mean girls, like someone says something and she takes offense and she's like, "Oh well, fuck me gently with a chainsaw." And then I was like, "Come take my hand and tie me sweetly. Nay, come take my hand and feed me gently to the wool. Shackle me sweetly down the deep side of the pool." I was like, it's just fun to tell someone to do like something horrible, but please do it in a kind and loving way. That was the sentence that kind of inspired like that verse. And then I was like, yeah, and then I was like, what am I singing about when I'm singing this? And yeah, then this whole kind of story about doing things that you're not entirely sure whether you should do them, but you know that you'll keep coming back to it no matter what. And then it's like, okay, if we're going to go down, then please let's go down gently, you know. And it's yeah, that's how the idea from a lyrical point of view kind of started. And I remember that my first name for the first draft was Two Country. So I wasn't entirely sure about the idea when I first started it, but yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's any reason to feel any kind of judgment about where you get inspiration for a great idea from, personally, because even like really shitty ideas sometimes lead to really great ones. But I
and
also,
really, really good inspirations can lead to very shitty ideas.
Yeah, it can go the other way.
Yeah.
But like,
so it doesn't really matter.
I love that you took that you heard that line and you took like the essence of it, this idea of like you said, asking somebody to do something horrible, but do it sweetly. The contrast there, and you don't like yoink. You didn't put the line in the song. No,
like,
it
actually has nothing to do with the
right.
song, but I just was inspired by that line. Yeah.
Right. But the idea of the other things is the same. You expanded that idea, and it's the transferability of the idea that's, to me, is so cool that you can do that. You know, in a song. And if you hadn't told us this story right now, nobody in a million years would probably make the connection. And if they did, they'd probably be like, "Oh my gosh, Heathers."
No, Heathers.
Is that Heathers?
Yeah.
So that's really cool to me. So I guess once you've got that kind of a thing, how do you go about structuring out the song? What did you do from the inception of those few lines to build it out into an entire song?
I feel like the classic song structure is pretty heavily embedded into, like, I'm pretty much a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, transpose, chorus kind of girl. But it's also because I don't really think about doing that, but I do. I also feel it's really easy for me to let that go as well, because I know that if I don't put like any effort into it, that I will probably do something logical there. Um, but like this song too, it has like a little in there's a like a pre-verse or a B chorus that never returns. I don't know how you want to call it, but this is also like it's a very normally structured song, but still there's a weird little thingy in there. Um, yeah, how do I do that? Well, this one is so much driven by the lyrics and the melodies that I will just basically um what I will often do is if I don't know how to continue, this may sound silly, but I will just play whatever I have and stop it and continue singing and see where it goes.
I do
And
exactly that. That's not silly in the slightest. That's
yeah, uh, good.
perfect.
And
At least the two of us. If it's weird, we both do it.
yeah, um, that's good. That's good to know. In it together. So yeah, and usually if I already have an idea of what the lyrics should be or what they should be, kind of, then you also already know kind of the words that you're going to hum, because this is also something like I don't really use placeholder lyrics with these songs now because it's I used to do a lot when I would write like in a team, for example, uh, if if we would write all together and for example, the music would go faster, then I could think of like a melody and the lyrics. Then I would just, focus on the melody and have some dummy lyrics. And
Just
then I was
Ozzy
like, I'll get
Osbourne
to
it.
that. Yeah, just in order to keep up with the process. Or, if it's like an instrumental track that you get and you first kind of want to figure out what will fit or what will feel good in terms of register vocally, like those are kind of the scenario in which it makes total sense to have like dummy lyrics. But in these songs that I'm kind of shaping as I'm not going to go to a register that is not nice most of the time. I've done that 2 times with my own tracks, and I'm disappointed in myself for it now because now I've planned a live show and I hate myself. So, um, but yeah, so normally I will just kind of go to what's natural anyway. So I don't really have to write melodies faster than I write lyrics. Um, so yeah, and then it usually, yeah, it continues like that chronologically. And the only thing that I might not do chronologically is I do every now and then copy paste like a verse where I will be like I want to get like the complete song structure before I fill in the second verse. But usually second verses are mm, every now and then you have a situation where you've told everything you wanted to say in like a verse, a chorus, and a bridge, and then it's like, oh, I still had that second verse, and then you have to make it meaningful. But most of the time, the second verse is kind of logical. I feel there's usually like I have an idea of what a second verse should do, uh, generally speaking. So
Okay, so like you wrote the first verse super inspired and felt and were really feeling it, and then by the time you get to the second verse, you're like, oh crap, I need a second verse. So you're really thinking about it.
yeah, that is usually the second verse is the thinking verse. Um, let's see, what is this? So in the case of against all odds. All is as green as grass and looking back today, I understand. Yeah, so you kind of paint the picture and the scenario of we were all young and stupid. And then together. Oh yeah, and then the second verse just gets dramatic. And but the thing is, you never I never really tell what happened, because in the first verse is, oh my God, we were so stupid. And then and then the second verse goes to, each part of me that once was us is fading. So you already completely skipped the part where, so it's like, that somewhere in between the first and the second chorus things went to shit, but you don't exactly say what. And I usually don't say exactly what, but just describe the feeling, because I um well, because I don't want the songs to be about me necessarily. And I think that when you kind of write about a universal feeling, um, it is just easier for people to relate to it. And this is something that is usually something like most of the songs that I write, they are very much to it's very selfish. It is usually to get a certain feeling out, but then kind of the last thing I want to do is to like, I don't want to explain exactly why or how. I just want to make something where if people kind of, if they're feeling the same thing, that it will make them feel better. Like that's kind of the goal. And whether it is like a super depressing song and it makes them feel better because they hear it and they recognize it and they're like, oh, I'm not alone, that's nice. Or it is like a song that actually does have a positive twist to it, where maybe I'm already kind of beyond like the deepest part of whatever it is, and then they can see like, oh well, look, they were there and now they're. So I think that if that is usually the goal, not necessarily for me to say what's happening, but more to make something that people can relate to. And then it's usually better to not get too much into detail about what it is actually about, or what is actually the thing that's happening, or you know.
Too much exposition can absolutely ruin anything. A movie, a TV
Ask
show, a
Tom York.
song. Yeah, just like, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess that's kind of literally what we do here is a lot of exposition, but in general, like you in the song itself, if you just, you're not gonna like stop and be like, all right, so here's what happened in the middle bit when
Yeah, no, no, no,
Tom
no.
and Jane and there's a
Yeah.
baby involved. No, you don't want to, like, you just, yeah. I think that's, I think it's better to leave some mystery.
Yeah. I think so too.
Um,
Yeah.
so on a more like logistical kind of a thing, when you'd written it, you used this acoustic guitar VST plugin, and then you sent it off to Timo. Did he play exactly the thing that you wrote with the same like picking pattern and articulation and all that, or did you give him something with some like strummy chords and he kind of worked out the picking pattern or whatever?
The picking pattern, that's a nice one to say 10 times in a row,
Picking pattern.
is kind of similar, but not exactly the same. And he did some interesting things on the low end. Like he basically he divided it into kind of three different parts, where now when it's playing it live, it all has to become one part again, of course. So
Good thing he's a
but that's,
wizard.
yeah, he is like, but it made it sound really, um wide and open, and it's like it's a much bigger sound. And the strumming pattern was yeah, similar but not identical. So it's the same sort of thing. For he also did a thing on Human to Ruin, for example, and there it was like a completely different thing, and it went from like a super sweet acoustic thingy to like this muse-ish chorusy um guitar thingy. I'm using the big words today. So yeah, which is something that I think I also I think with that one I also said like I think it sounds too sweet. Can you please do something different? He actually spontaneously played it differently during one of the rehearsals because he is joining me on stage as well during the upcoming live show, as well as Joey and Otto and Sophia, the new girl. But he's joining as well live, and he played something. It was like, this could be like nice for live, and that was after I put out this song on Patreon, but before I had to hand in the mixes for the album. So it was like, yeah, that is very cool for live. And also, please, can you replace my part so that it sounds nicer on the record? Please, please. So yeah, that was a pretty lucky one for me. Like
You caught
yeah.
it. You saw it flying through the air. You were like, "Give me that. Put it on the
Give me
album."
that now. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So
Um,
that's how that one went. That one was just his idea from the rehearsal room.
so like, you're putting out these songs once a month on your Patreon. They get them first before the rest of the world, right? That's the
Yeah.
one of the many benefits of signing up for your Patreon, which I didn't link in the description, but I will. Check slightly after this is over, y'all watching and listening. But would you say that there's any aspect of the feedback that you get from your patrons that you integrate into your music moving forward? I mean, you've now done how many total songs? Is it, well,
30.
30.
30.
Wow.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and they're all like pretty different, or not entirely different from each other, but they each have a very unique flavor to them.
Yeah, we have
And
like
yeah, how do you?
sometimes when I have like a very specific genre, I do like a genre reveal party. It's like a gender reveal party, but like without the patriarchy and stuff. So it's
Without
it's
burning
uh
down a
it's
forest. That
yeah.
happened in California, no joke.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that was not good. No. Um but yeah, they're all pretty different because I am thinking month by month rather than this has to fit together on an album with this and that song. So I can basically just decide every month what I feel like doing, and it's
Yeah.
nice.
But how much influence or input from the patrons would you say you take for the direction of the songs, or anything, if any at all?
Well, I do I'm a people pleaser, so I do um I think I really value the feedback in the sense that, you also get feedback on socials for a lot of things, but it's not always necessarily from people that got you back.
Mm-hmm.
But for the patrons, it's very different because it's coming from people who kind of really want to be there and want to be part of the process. So I it is really important to me, and whenever I get some criticism where I feel like it's not just like, oh, like I don't like this song because I don't like this kind of songs. I mean, there's not a lot you can do about that. You can't please everyone. But I think I do take it to heart. But when I started the Patreon, it was basically to have like a place for, because back then there was like the band, which was kind of focused songwriting, like we're doing this thing. And then I kind of wanted a place for like everything else. And now I'm just doing like everything else. So it's kind of, I think that people also kind of sign up for this. Like sometimes I feel uh like if I do like a song that is kind of like a symphonic metal song, then usually the responses are really excited about that. And sometimes I feel like when I've done a few like weird songs or songs that follow like a weird song structure, it doesn't even have to be like genre wise, but just if I do songs that I think people will consider weird and I do too many of them in a row, I ask people like, I do ask people like, are you ready for another weird one this month, or should I try to work on something else first? But like usually when I ask that, and I don't know if that's because people are just like, I don't know, but usually people get really excited about just do the weird ones. I've also done like a poll where it's like, I can't promise that I'll actually do it, but you have anything that you'd prefer me to do? And like, um, I think, well, let's say like the wild majority of the people who are there said, just do whatever the fuck you want to do. So, so that's actually very nice. So yeah, I do really care about what they want me to do, but it seems like they want me to do what I want to do. So that's very nice. That's a good situation to be in.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like it could potentially start a feedback loop. You can like, like the three Spider-Man meme. Like, well, what do you want? No, what do you want? I want what you
What
want.
do you
I
want?
want
What do
you
you
want.
want? Yeah.
I want you to be happy. I want you. Okay, but
I want you to be happy. Damn it.
but
Yeah.
really, that's a pretty ideal position because it's you get to do whatever you want, and what you want is what they want, and you're doing it for a job basically. I mean, right? Like that's
It's a
your
full-time gig.
gig. It's
Yeah.
your full-time gig, and
Yeah.
whereas it's basically like you have circumvented the traditional music industry almost entirely. You're on a record label on Napalm, which is how this got set up. I talked to your publicist a lot about a lot of different things, a lot of different bands, and but aside from that, you are direct to fan entirely, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is that uh, it makes working with whoever you want to work with a lot more um like I step into that with a lot more confidence, knowing that I won't need like a really big advance or something in order to make the music, because I've kind of made it on a month by month basis. Um, so with these two albums, once I decided that I didn't decide that I want this album until like a ridiculously short time ago. Like it was like, let's make it. Okay, when does it need to be ready? Next week. Okay. Well, it was almost like that, you know? Um uh so but it yeah, it gives me a lot of confidence to know that I can do like the videos and um and these songs through the support of the Patreon. I don't know if that will be different once I decide to. I mean, of course, it's not the most costly process when I can actually do anything aside from the mix and master, because I don't do the mix and master myself. And the sometimes there's folks involved with like the artwork as well. And then of course there's the videos and stuff. But like for the music itself, like for the very song itself, like I only outsource the mix and master. So that is not the most costly part of everything. Uh so it might be different once I want to make a more traditional album where I go into a studio and have all of those parts actually played by actual humans in a studio that is not a basement, or maybe there's also a basement. There's probably more basement studios out there, but yeah.
We don't even have basements at all in California. It's kind of annoying.
I was lucky to find this house with the basement, because none of the other houses like in the street, it's not a common thing. This one I think was, it might have been a bit sketchy when it was first dug out, and I think that a part of the street was actually not doing so well after it was. But like the few owners before us, they patched it up real nice, and we came here and I was like, yes, this is the place, this is where it needs to happen. Yeah.
Every musician on earth, when they go house shopping, they're always looking for the studio room.
The
Which
studio
one's is gonna
room.
be?
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love the vibe. Even just what I can see in this shot. I've seen pictures that you've posted as well.
Yeah.
Very
It's
important to have a
it's
good vibe, and you have nailed it. In some, I don't. I don't know what to call
It's
that, but it looks awesome.
it is so multifunctional too, because I don't know if you can tell, but there's like a softbox right there and there's like a big screen there. So it doubled as like a photo video studio yesterday. And like all the band rehearsals, we've actually done all of the band rehearsals here because I got one of those Behringer X32s,
Oh yeah.
and we all have our own in-ears, and it's like super fancy to be able to do all of that like from here. It's amazing. Like there's a drum kit where the couch is now, so that's cool.
Dang.
It's not so cool for the neighbors, but it's cool for me.
They're getting a preview that some of your fans would pay good money for. They're getting a private concert and they don't even know it.
I mean, I did invite them to the show because I thought, if you get to hear us preparing for it, then you also get to hear like the final result. So yeah.
That's very sweet of you.
It's also because the gig is like it's like 3 blocks ahead. Like
Oh, you're going to get to walk there.
I am gonna get to walk there. I mean, yeah, not counting gear and stuff, but yeah, it's very, very close. It's nice.
That is handy. What's the date for that's happening?
It is October 23rd at Tivoli Vredenburg in Utrecht. Woohoo. Tales from Six. Yeah, and that's also one of the things because I decided that there was going to be another album. So now, like, this was the only show that we had when one album was released. But of course, COVID happened, so there was no release party or whatever. So now it's a double release show. So this is the first time in my life that I'm rehearsing like 20 plus shows or like songs to be played in one show. Like usually if you have a new album, you kind of feed new songs into the set, maybe by pairs or something, so you don't have too many new ones in one gig. And back when we started out with Elaine, we started with support show with like playing 6-7 songs, but now it's like 20 plus songs, and it's not only songs that have never been played live before, but it's also like in the beginning with rehearsing, it was also like the things that I played, how are we going to translate that to a band? Because there are some songs that like there are some songs where I wrote the drums, for example, where it was like where it was like either like the in Easy Drummer, for example, you have to tap to find. So you have this thing in your mind and you just go, I need something like this. And then you find something like it and then you adjust it. And then at one point you're happy. But then it's based on an actual person playing the drums. But there's also a lot of songs where I just found like a bunch of cool drum-like sounding sounds. And I just drew them in MIDI or like tapped them in until it sounded cool. But I had no idea whether that was a drum part for someone with like 6 hands.
Yeah.
The
octopus.
So yeah, exactly. So so there were certain songs where I was like, I'm pretty sure that this is a drum part. But then there were also songs where I was like, I don't know what kind of monster this is. Like, I don't know.
That's for Mac to play. Your best friend, your best friend who fits in a bag, Mac.
Yeah. Yeah, but then of course you do want to find and especially because all of the songs are so different, you do have a lot of decisions to make when you put like 20 of those songs into one live set, because it's going to be like you could put everything that kind of sounds electronic, you could have Mac play them, but then you also want to establish like the band experience. So there was a lot of this song can do without that, and we're going to make that a band part. And of course, like I wasn't the only one who was doing that, because then you actually have the band with you, like in the rehearsal space, still the basement. But I'm talking about it like it's different rooms, but it's still the same room. So that's been a process too, like going through all of these songs and finding like, okay, this we're going to do like that, and this we're going to do like that, and this is going to sound cool with this part. And um also for Sophia, the keyboardist, like this is, yeah, it was it was a lot of figuring out for everyone, because because it's not necessarily you're going to play it with like one keyboardist and one guitar player and one bassist and one drummer and one singer and multiple people who can sing too. But it's like, but the songs were not made necessarily with the idea of being performed live. So, um, yeah, that was a new experience to go kind of through that phase of how how are these songs going to be on a stage. That kind of gave a new angle to them.
Well, the songs were born in that room. They're kind of growing up in that room to become a new thing with the rehearsals, and then they're going to very soon leave the basement for the first time.
I
And
know.
they you're gonna get empty nest syndrome.
They grow up so
They grow up
fast.
so fast.
Yeah. Well,
Um, but that's also pretty exciting to. Although I guess in a way they've, you know, you've put them out into the world already in one form. So now you've got these kind of like alternate universe twins of them that you're going to be performing live, and that is, in my opinion, the thing that like people come out to shows for. You see a lot of bands playing their stuff exactly the way it is on the record with every perfect, and like that's cool, it's impressive, but I think it's more fun if there's especially if what you're saying, like maybe one of the parts that was like this programmed thing, somebody's playing it or some version of it. That's very exciting to watch. I like that a lot.
yeah, it's going to be really excited. I just realized that it's less than a month to go now, so it's ah!
I bet it's going to be
Oh.
super awesome. I wish I could be there. So one of the questions that I usually ask is whether or not you considered live performance when if you ever think about it, how a song's going to pop off live when you're writing it. I imagine from what you just told me that the answer is no, but is there any aspect of that you
I mean,
have considered?
lately a little more so, because now I know that there's going to be, we're doing the one show now, and I am planning to do more shows. I just haven't planned when yet. Like, I'm not in a particular rush, but I want to do more shows. So now I am in that mindset a little more. So whenever I do something really, it's not that I would avoid using certain sounds, but I have done songs where kind of all of the sounds that I was using were non-playable sounds. And I think that if I would do that now, like if it would be like such a weird ambient mix of textures and layers, that I would think, that if you're going to do this, there will be a lot of sound on the stage, and there will be four people standing like this, you know? So I do think that it is, I do think that it is somewhere in
Charlotte and
my
the
mind.
Mannequins.
Yeah, at least the realization that that will be the case. If however what I'm doing is like sounding like super cool, then it's like, okay, well then maybe this is not going to be a live song then, you know. Um but I do think that my later songs are more playable than my, and I'm talking just about the last 2 years now, my earlier songs like 2 years ago, like just from the producing my own things era, so to speak. I do think that the later songs are more playable. Yeah.
I guess, do you, now that you've done it both ways, do you prefer the sort of completely in the box things that are maybe not going to wind up being played by a person? Or do you like thinking about them in that way from the inception of them being maybe something that you're writing that musicians will play on quote unquote real instruments versus just your own creation that's entirely yours? Do you have I don't know, any kind of feelings about that one way or the other?
Um, no, I don't think that it matters that much to me in the sense that I really enjoy seeing the songs come to life now. And I do feel that especially the songs that were written more with like a band in mind, they do get better when a band plays them. That is just how it is. Um, that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy things that don't sound. The thing that I like about the how do I say this? Uh Amnesiac by Radiohead is my favorite record ever. Does that say enough? It's like it's like I like these kind of sounds where you don't know, because I think the main difference between when I hear a guitar, I get the image of a guitar. I get the image of someone playing the guitar. I know what a guitar costs. I know what it is made of roughly. I have I know the history of people playing the guitar, and there's a lot of things that you think of when you see a guitar. And it's the same with like drums. Like you have this visual with it straight away. I sometimes feel that it's easier to make I like sounds where you don't know what the sound is. That's I think what I want to say. Like I like sounds where in your head you will have to think of what image that brings. And I'm not saying that you cannot do that with the guitar or with drums or with any other instrument. I think the challenge for any musician playing any instrument is to make whatever you're doing kind of transcend just playing the instrument or like singing a note and singing it precisely on key. You know, you want it to become something more than that. And oh my God, I'm just discovering that maybe I'm lazy because I want to skip the part of playing the instrument so well that it transcends the instrument, but I want to go straight to like the part where you don't know what the instrument is. Oh my God. So but that is the reason why I like sounds where you don't know what the sound is.
Yeah.
And where I discovered that I'm lazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's at the same time, if the listener doesn't know what they're hearing, really,
Yeah.
then they're also not going to be judging you for how you made it, because they're not going to be like, oh, this person didn't spend 20 years learning how to shred on the didgeridoo. That's just a plugin. They just poked some notes in MIDI, and that was that. It doesn't matter. I mean, honestly, I think outside of metal, a lot of people don't really care how the sounds they're hearing were made. I mean, that thing that you're talking about, feeling lazy or whatever, like, I feel that judgment constantly because most of the people on my channel and that I interact with a lot are metalheads, and there's this idea of like performance, like I don't know, legitimacy. It has to be this like thing that you worked super duper hard on, but like I think the sound that you want to achieve is more important. That's why people work so hard at playing their instrument to get the sound. So to me, that doesn't feel lazy. I mean, especially since the alternative, doing it like real, like I don't know, a lot of in the box kinds of sounds, synths or plugins or whatever, like I think that it's sort of prohibitive in a way that you could do them outside of the box. Like, I guess it's possible, but
Well, uh, sidestep. I went to see Arnold Olafsson. Arnold Olafsson, I think his name is. He makes a lot of software for Spitfire,
oh yeah.
really pretty string sections. Mm-hmm. And I saw that I saw in the newsletter of Tivoli Vredenburg that he was coming to perform there. And I was like, oh, his plugins are amazing. His own music must be great. And
let's go see his plugins live.
Let's go see his plugins live. And he actually did the thing where his story was like he injured his hand at one point, so he could basically, he's a pianist, but he could only play with the one hand. So he worked with a friend. He worked on this software where he had two of those, those pianos that play by themselves that they have in airport hallways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pianos. He had two of them kind of connected to his grand piano. So he would play something simple, and then he had I bet a million different kind of sequences that would then send to those self-playing pianos, and they would kind of answer. And I knew that plugin, and it sounds great, but I could actually see it on stage with the one grand piano and with the two pianos. So he can do it. I'm not sure if all of those things can be done like that, but that was actually a pretty impressive but yeah, I was there very giddy and excited, oh my god, it sounds just like the plugin, which is kind of backwards. Yeah,
he did it.
Yeah, he did it. It was really cool. Yeah,
that sounds pretty cool though. I do really like seeing that kind of stuff in a live scenario. You go to see somebody do something superhuman and wild. I haven't actually seen this, but I've seen videos of Robert Fripp doing the Frippertronics thing and that kind of weird wild tape loops. I did see I'm not gonna be able to remember what they're called. Mission to Burma, this older hardcore band, punk band, and they have a dude off stage somewhere. You can't really see it, but he's doing this live looping thing where he has a tape machine and he's recording things as they happen and looping it. And so when the song ends, and during the song too, you're hearing parts of the performance that just happened in woven in this weird, interesting musical way.
Yeah.
And you're just how did that happen? How is that happening? I have no idea. Very impressive.
I'm doing that during the upcoming live show. I'm doing some live looping, and it is the most terrifying thing.
Super terrifying.
It is so terrifying. It's if you do the first note, I have one part where it's 3 16-bar loops. So imagine if I mess up in the first bar of the first 16-bar loop, and it will go on forever and ever and ever. It will play for a very long time. So this is the risks that you gotta take.
I always say that's why The Edge from U2 is the greatest guitar player ever, because if he hits one wrong note, he has to hear it 32 times in stereo,
Yeah.
That's not true at all. I hate U2. But let's hypothetically.
I bought right now a new laptop, and that album is still in my
You can't get it out. Oh no. They'll never live
one
that
time it
down.
popped up on accident, and I was like, I didn't ask for this. Thanks, but
oh my gosh.
Oh well, yeah.
Oh man, I don't know how to follow that up. Let's see. So we've talked about the process for one song. Okay, so you were saying that you now or this whole time you've been sort of trying to find the process, thinking about what you're gonna do, what you like and what you don't. You've sandboxed for 2 whole years, like been able to explore all of these things, and it's not like you were just experimenting and then we're just like, oh, whatever. Like, you finished and put out things, but each month was kind of like a little trial of trying something new. And of course, everything that all the end products of those are all cohesive, cool, complete songs. They don't feel like I don't know, experimental throwaways or whatever. But you've spent a lot of time trying out different processes and different stuff. So now moving forward, is there anything that you feel like you really hit on during this time that you maybe will integrate on a more permanent basis in terms of how you go about it, or I don't know, even like certain sounds or something that you feel like you really latched onto?
I think that the most important thing that I've learned is actually finishing the songs, because um if you just sit me down to write, then I will come up with new ideas, but I will rarely finish an existing idea for fun. Because I always feel like that first spark of, oh, this is cool, like that is the best part, and then you kind of build it up in your head. And for me, there's always a risk that then what I hear in my head is like, yeah, that sounds really cool, but I'm not sure if I can make that. And then you kind of get like the insecurity monster of maybe I'll just start something new instead. So for me, it was a really good lesson to give myself that I have to finish the song every month. And I doesn't mean that I was happy with every song when I finished it. But I did have this feeling of, I mean, there is a song, and often, a while after I put it out on Patreon and I would listen back to it, a lot of the things that I was like very insecure about, or it was like, I couldn't even remember them so well anymore. And then after a while, I was just vibing to it and was like, this was actually kind of cool. I don't know what I was like so down about. So for me, it was just really good to give myself that you have to finish a thing every month. Because I was never going to do that without that kind of internal rule. I did get to a point now where, like, when I started the whole Patreon out of this kind of necessity, because I was, no, not out of a necessity, out of something. It was just something that I really wanted to do, because like I knew, I thought that Delane wasn't going to back down anytime. Like, that would always kind of be my main thing. And I also knew that I had a lot of song ideas sitting, like, collecting dust on a hard drive that nothing was going to happen with. And I was like, there's not going to be time to do like another big ass side project again. There's not, because I also, back when I did do Phantasma, for example, there were some plans of like doing more with it, but I was kind of always the one who was holding it back, because, we had plans and we were touring, and there were a lot of things making that very complicated. So I didn't want to do something that I would need other people for, because I was like, oh, I'm just going to be holding you back. So I wanted really to do something where I could do it myself. But that means that when I started, I already had kind of a big collection, a big pile of songs where I was like, I just need to finish these. Like, they were, a lot of them were like maybe the structure was finished, but it was just very rough, or it was like a verse and a chorus, but they were good enough to make something out of, with relatively relatively easily.
Hmm.
So there were just a lot of ideas there where I was like, I can spend a few days on it and I will have a song. But um and then in the very beginning when I did that, I had like two I had like two plugins, which were like things that I got for free with my mini Akai, and I used those for like almost all of the parts of the entire song because those were the
That's
sounds
what you
that I
had.
had. So if you listen to New Mythology, which is like it's like the first song that got out on the Patreon, that was just like the sounds from the free synth thingy that came with that. And I was like, oh, this is so exciting. There's like, it's a song now. But then yeah, I tried to keep this one story. But then once I kind of got going, like I thought like, oh, I have such a big pile of song ideas that if I just work with what I have now, I won't even have to write another full song in like 2-3 years. But it turns out that once you're working, like a lot of those songs of the pile kind of didn't work for me anymore. Either the feeling wasn't there anymore, or things that I just thought were really good back then, I didn't think were good anymore. Or so over time, like right now, for example, I am kind of starting every month with like a completely uh clean, like I am starting from scratch, and I am noticing now that the month of time, and now it's also a month in which I'm also planning a live show and like doing a lot of different life things, and taxes, and I it's not like I actually have a month to work on the song, even though I have to finish it in a month, but that doesn't always mean that I have a month to work on it. And I am noticing now that it is maybe not enough time for what I want to do. So in the second year, I had a lot of feelings. So that worked for the songwriting. So I had a lot of songs where like a big part of the song kind of just came gushing out. And then I also took like the like I always had to finish it. Like I also always release the song on the same day. So that deadline I put for myself is very, very strict. And I just needed to get the song out. And by now I feel like I've taken shortcuts, like I've used like production loops and things like that. And in the end, I was always happy with the songs because it was always like this very raw emotion that just had to get out, like one way or another. But when I look back at it now, I feel like for some songs, like I've used too much shortcuts. And those are things where I was like, if I wanted to do that the proper way or what feels proper to me, then I need more time. So that's my challenge for whatever I'm doing next is keep I want to keep the deadline of the monthly thing, but maybe it will just need to be a pre-production or a first version of the song, or because I do feel that I've come to a point where what I can do with a song in a month, now that I know a little bit better how to do things, is not enough, because now I want to put the effort into, like, I come from a part where I only did the vocals. So if I had like a vocal that was, that felt really true to me and the rest made the song complete, then I was kind of already happy. But now I feel like all of the parts need to kind of be better on their own. And that is not something that I can do within a month, like every month for the rest of my life, probably.
Well,
Like that's
it's
hard.
it's a lot of pressure to put on yourself to do all the parts of everything. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
because it's it's each of these songs is your baby, like they're you know your thing. But like I mean, I think you'd be forgiven if you outsourced like the drum programming or something to somebody else to make, you know what I mean?
but
I mean,
it can also mean outsourcing, but also within a month of time, like once I have the song and I have the general idea of all of the parts of the song, I'm already at my deadline. So even if I wanted to outsource it, there would not like there's been exactly one instance where I had the time to actually have the actual guitars included, and that was against all odds because I knew from the beginning that this was only going to work if it had. So I'm not against outsourcing. Like I don't necessarily have to do all of the things myself. It is just that I am more critical of all of the things. So a lot of the things that I felt like were okay for the way that I'm working now, like you just have to get the song together and you have to get all of these ingredients and it has to support your idea as long as it supports your idea. And I think that now I am probably asking a little bit more from that. Whether I do that or somebody else does it, that doesn't really matter to me. But that does need a little bit more time, I think.
yeah. I mean, that's a lot. So it sounds like correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're saying you kind of want to up your game, but
Yeah.
you're already sort of at the limit of how much you can do in the time period that you've given yourself, and that's
Yeah.
a tough equation to balance out,
Navigate.
to navigate. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it is.
without, I mean, that kind of ambition is what drives innovation. So I'm interested to see how that will pan out for you, because I think everything you've done so far has been so cool and so
you.
unique. And now it's like anything else, you hit a point where it's time to level up. So you're gonna, of course, have to push yourself. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like a very exciting and stressful time.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
I would hope
And
that your patrons would forgive you not putting out maybe taking a month off to get the live thing together. Like, come on, guys. Maybe you drop a live track instead. Be like, I mean, I won't tell you
the
what.
live track is actually a nice idea. That's
Buy yourself
it's
a little bit of time.
yeah. That's a good one. No, I don't think. Honestly, I don't think. Like for the last two songs, for example, um, I've done. No, are those the last two songs? No, actually, yeah. I'm not even sure, or three, but they were songs where it was already kind of the case where I was like, I don't know if this is the finished version of the song. Like it's finished. Like of course it is a thing as it is now. But if I would put it on a record, or if I just had the chance for whatever other reason, then I would want to dive back into it and uh yeah, rework certain things. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess then since what we're talking about is the process, right? The songwriting process. I am all part of the reason that I do this. All right. I mean, it's nice when other people watch and listen, but I started this so that I could learn about how other people go about writing songs, the whole kit and caboodle. And one thing that I've seen that other people do that blows my process right out of the water is just the efficiency of it, the way that they've got everything set up and everything. And I still haven't. I've taken like a little bit from that, a little bit here and there, like cool little tricks. But I feel like some people can just knock it out while I'm over here agonizing over details and all of that, and because I want it to be right, like you're describing. And like I think maybe the sort of long and elaborate question that I asked you that kicked off this bit was like about what you're, you know, kind of how you'll do it moving forward, and it sounds like a lot of it is going to be some of the changes you'll have to make will be about the efficiency or the time way that you go about it, which actually you being able to put out a song a month at all is a feat of efficiency as far as I'm concerned. Like that's crazy, and you've been doing consistently for 2 years. That's bonkers, really. But like that's a thing that I don't often get to think about.
I wouldn't be able to do it if I wanted to give the songs the attention to detail that you are probably giving your songs the attention to detail. Like I sometimes feel like, oh, this is a great preset. And then, you know, you'll have preset too, but you know that someone else might use the exact same preset. And this is kind of something that then you have to live with those kind of things. And this is something where that's kind of gnawing on me right now, knowing that yeah, and I don't know if it matters to a lot of people when they're listening to the songs that there's maybe 10 other people out there who use the same presets, but it's gnawing on me, you know.
That is a very, very real struggle. What I do to make myself feel better about that is I go, the people who are listening to this don't fucking care or notice. But that's what I say to make myself feel better. It isn't necessarily actually better, but yes, that I feel that. I feel the shit out of that.
Yeah, and I feel like those sort of things, and then having the finished version of the song every month is maybe no longer realistic. Having a version of the song out, yes, but yeah, maybe I don't know. This is the big what's going to happen at this point. I don't have the answer to it.
You don't have an answer,
but that's kind of because I started out just doing we're going to overanalyze every piece of this music and then see if it, you know, and we had and everyone worked on their parts, and then there were also like outside arrangers and you know, going straight full force into the production until everything is perfect. I've been a part of that process, and then now it's just like just make the song, get it out, get the feeling out there, and just put it out, and don't think about whether it's perfect, you know. And now I'm hoping to land somewhere in between. I don't know how I do that, but I'm hoping to land somewhere in between, or get to a place where I get to do both. But I think doing both simultaneously would yeah, that's the question.
Yeah.
This is exactly the question. Yeah.
Well, it seems you're at a very important crossroads, and you've got some hefty decisions to make.
No.
I hope I'm not stressing you out right now with this.
No, I'm doing that to myself enough.
I'm just super curious about it. But really, I imagine you might be a bit stressed and worried. I'm not worried at all, because I know that whatever you do is going to be fucking awesome. So far, not a stinker in the bunch. But you're feeling that artist struggle. You want it to be super awesome. You feel obligation to yourself and to your fans, and I think that's what in the end is going to make it awesome. Like, because if you weren't stressed out about that a little bit, if you didn't feel that, that's just you caring a lot about what you do, and it shows in everything that you do. So I am very excited to see what the next what actually comes out of all this. I mean, like, you've already got 2 complete albums, Tales from 6 Feet Under Volume 1 and Volume 2. Volume 2 is out October 7th.
Yep.
7th. I forgot.
No, you were thinking about the show, which is also very important, which is 23rd.
The show of the release party show is at a place that I cannot pronounce, but I'll let you say it on the 23rd of October.
At Tivoli Vredenburg in Utrecht.
One more time. I'm going to try.
Tivoli Vredenburg.
Tivoli Vredenburg.
In Utrecht.
In Utrecht.
That was very good. Very
Thank
dirty cheese. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And of course, to be able to hear these songs before everyone else, to get all of the perks of behind the scenes monthly hangouts.
Monthly hangouts. There's also a lot of these songs that actually never make it to an album. So there's exclusive songs as well, monthly hangouts. Behind the scenes, just blog posts, things, lots of things.
All
things
that
with capital T's.
all of that on Charlotte's Patreon, which is linked below. Anything else that you'd like to add about what you've got going on that you think the people would like to know?
Let's see. The album, the show. Yeah, I'm just really excited. I feel like I have to say that every time, but I'm really excited to have the guys on stage with me again. Like it's after 2 years of kind of being like a hermit in the basement, it's just very nice to get out there and make music together with people again. I think I already said that, but just in case, I need to say it again. So but the record, the show, and hopefully much more to come.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and all of the people watching and listening today. Break a leg at the show.
Thank you.
Tell them all I say hello. Yeah, we'll hopefully the show becomes a live extravaganza that will come to LA, and then I can see you. That's probably a bit more work than me just buying a plane ticket and coming. But I want it to hit that level because I think it's probably going to be pretty awesome. Will you be recording or streaming it for the world? I don't.
We will not be live streaming because it is 20 songs and it's the first time ever that we play them, which is already kind of stressful enough as it is. So we may be doing that at one point because I know that not everyone will be making it over to Utrecht. I mean, I do understand that it will be a very special show. We'll try to film parts of it so we can at least show people some things of what's been going on and have them share in the festivities and excitement. But no live stream. Also, I have to sell those tickets,
Yes, right. That's a great point.
Yeah.
They're like, oh well, I don't need to. If it's going to be streamed, why even bother?
Yeah, exactly.
That's smart. Well, hopefully I'll get to see some clips from that because it sounds like it's going to be a great time. So thank you all for watching so much. Huge thanks to DistroKid for sponsoring this episode. Remember that you can get a discount of 7% off your first year at the link in the description. And while you're down there, click all the other links to Charlotte's stuff. And this will be available as an audio podcast very soon. You can find that at howsongsaremadepodcast.com. Charlotte, you're the best. Thank you so much, and I hope to talk to you real soon.
Thank you so much. It was lots of fun. Bye-bye.
All right, see ya. Hang on 1 second here. All right. Okay. All right, y'all. This was great. I just realized I haven't checked who I've got coming up. Yes. Next week, another awesome guest that you're not going to want to miss, my buddy Andy Gillian. If you don't know Andy Gillian, well, now's your chance to go and check him out. And he just put out a sick, super shreddy new album. Arcade metal. You're gonna want to go and check that out before I get to talk to him. He also does video game composing. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all then. Have a great week. Get out there and write some songs.